After my nephew drained my investment account of $210,000, he showed up at Christmas dinner driving a brand new Range Rover and announced he'd purchased a lakefront cottage in Muskoka. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at 2 in the morning. He was screaming through tears. "What have you done to me? You've destroyed everything." My revenge was methodical, legal, and absolutely devastating. Before we continue, please subscribe to Shattered Vengeance and write in the comments what time it is where you are right now. I sat in the leather chair at my financial advisor's office, staring at the screen showing my investment portfolio balance. Zero. Not reduced. Not partially withdrawn. Completely emptied. The Royal Bank statements lay spread across the mahogany desk, like autopsy reports. Every mutual fund, every GIC, every stock holding, liquidated between December 2nd and December 6th, 2024, while I was visiting my daughter in Vancouver. "Thomas, I need you to walk me through this again," I said, keeping my voice steady. After 42 years as a civil engineer, I'd learned that panic solved nothing. Facts did. Thomas Chen adjusted his glasses, his discomfort obvious. "The withdrawals were all authorized through your online access. Correct passwords, correct security questions, transferred to your checking account first, then withdrawn as certified checks." He pulled up the transaction log. 6 separate withdrawals over 5 days. The system flagged nothing because, technically, you authorized them. Except I didn't. I leaned forward, studying the timestamps. December 2nd, 9:47 a.m. December 3rd, 2:15 p.m. December 4th, 11:23 a.m. All during business hours. All while I was 3 time zones away. "Who has your login credentials?" Thomas asked, though his expression suggested he already suspected the answer. 3 people. Myself, my late wife Margaret, who'd passed 2 years ago, and my nephew Connor, who I'd given emergency access to after my heart surgery last spring. Just in case something happened. Just in case I needed help. Connor, 28 years old, my sister's boy, living in the basement apartment of my North York house for the past 18 months because he'd lost his job in tech and needed to get back on his feet. The kid I'd helped raise after his father abandoned the family. The young man I'd mentored, supported, believed in. "I'll need to file a fraud report with the bank," Thomas said carefully. "But I should tell you, internal theft cases are extraordinarily difficult when the perpetrator had authorized access." I drove home from downtown Toronto through freezing rain. The December streets were gray, matching my mood. My retirement savings, gone, $210,000, accumulated over 4 decades of work. The money that was supposed to fund my final years, maybe leave something for my daughter and grandchildren. I pulled into my driveway on Shepherd Avenue. Connor's beat-up Honda Civic sat in its usual spot, rusted and dented. The basement apartment lights were on. I could hear hip-hop music thumping through the walls. I unlocked the main house door and stood in my empty living room. Margaret's absence hit me again, the way it did at unexpected moments. She would have known what to do. She'd always been better at reading people, at sensing when something was wrong. I'd trusted Connor because Margaret had loved him like a son. That trust had cost me everything. I called the Toronto Police Service non-emergency line. 2 hours later, Detective Sarah Kowalski arrived. Early 40s, sharp eyes, the kind of officer who'd clearly handled enough fraud cases to know how this would play out. She examined my bank statements, took notes on her tablet. "Mr. Patterson, I'll be direct with you. Your nephew had authorized access to these accounts. That makes this a civil matter, not criminal, unless we can prove coercion or identity theft. He stole over $200,000. Legally, he withdrew money from accounts he had permission to access." She set down her tablet. "I've seen cases like this. Family member is given access for emergencies, uses it for personal gain. Banks rarely cooperate because from their perspective, you authorized the access. Courts are backlogged for years. Even if you win a civil judgment, collecting is nearly impossible if the money's spent. So he just gets away with it?" I didn't say that. Detective Kowalski's expression softened slightly. "I said the criminal system probably won't help you. But you have other options. Document everything. Lawyer up. Think strategically." She handed me her card. "And Mr. Patterson?" People who steal this brazenly usually make mistakes. Give them enough rope. After she left, I went to the basement apartment door and knocked. No answer. The music kept pounding. I used my key. Connor was sprawled on the couch, eyes glued to his phone, thumbs scrolling through what looked like luxury car listings. He glanced up, startled. "Uncle William! You're back early. We need to talk." Something flickered across his face. Fear? Guilt? It vanished quickly, replaced by his usual easy smile. "Sure, yeah, what's up?" He muted the TV, but didn't put down his phone. My investment accounts were emptied while I was in Vancouver. His eyes widened. Performance-worthy shock. "What? That's insane. Did you call the bank? Maybe it was hackers or something?" I watched him carefully. 42 years of engineering had taught me to spot structural weaknesses. Connor's facade had them. The way his left hand gripped his phone too tightly. The forced casual tone. The fact that he hadn't asked how much was taken. "The bank says someone with my login credentials authorized the withdrawals." That's crazy. His voice pitched higher. "Who would do that? Did you change your passwords? Maybe someone phished you." "Connor, you're the only person besides me who has those credentials." He stood up quickly, hands raised. "Whoa, hold on. You're not seriously accusing me? Uncle William, I would never." His voice cracked convincingly. "I can't believe you'd even think that. After everything you've done for me, after you took me in when I had nothing, then you won't mind if the police investigate." His face pallid. "The police? You called the cops on me? Your own nephew?" "I reported a theft. They'll investigate all possibilities." "This is unbelievable." He grabbed his coat from the chair. "You know what? I don't need this. I've been nothing but grateful, and you accuse me of being a thief? I'm going to stay at my girlfriend's place. When you're ready to apologize, you know where to find me." He stormed past me and up the stairs. I heard the front door slam, then his Honda starting up and pulling away. I stood in the basement apartment, looking around with new eyes. Fast food containers, empty energy drink cans, but also new things I hadn't noticed before. An expensive gaming chair, a curved monitor I didn't remember seeing last month, a Canada Goose jacket hanging on the door hook, retail price around $1,500. I pulled out my phone and opened a new note, started typing. Timeline. December 2nd to 6th, Connor home alone while I was in Vancouver. December 7th, I return and discover theft. December 8th, Connor acts shocked but defensive. I photographed the apartment, the new purchases. Then I locked it and went upstairs to my own home office. 42 years as a civil engineer had taught me one fundamental truth. Every structure has load, bearing points. Apply enough pressure to the right spots, and the whole thing collapses. Connor had just made his first mistake by running instead of staying to prove his innocence. Now I needed to find his other mistakes. I hired Rebecca Martinez on Tuesday morning. Her law office occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower on University Avenue, with a view stretching across downtown Toronto to the lake. Mid-50s, gray suit, the kind of lawyer who charged $450 per hour and was worth every penny. "Family theft cases are ugly," she said after reviewing my documents. "The emotional component complicates everything, but you've got a solid foundation here. Authorized access doesn't mean unlimited access. There's an implied fiduciary duty. Can we prove he took it? We can build a circumstantial case strong enough to make his life extremely difficult." She pulled out a legal pad. "Tell me about Connor's financial situation before the theft." I walked her through it. Connor had been unemployed for 6 months before moving into my basement. His tech company had done layoffs. He'd been living off employment insurance, maybe $1,800 a month, rent-free in my apartment. No car payments because his Honda was paid off. No major expenses. And after the theft? That's what I need help investigating. Rebecca nodded. "I'll hire a private investigator, Gary Hendricks, former RCMP, specializes in financial tracking. He's expensive, but thorough. We'll also need a forensic accountant to establish the timeline and trace the money." "How much are we talking?" "Retainer of $15,000 covers my time, the PI, and preliminary forensic work. If this goes to court, we're looking at $40,000 to $60,000 total." I pulled out my checkbook, wrote the amount. My emergency savings, the money I'd kept in a separate account Connor didn't know about. Thank God for Margaret's insistence on maintaining separate accounts, just in case. One more thing, Rebecca said as I handed her the check. You need to prepare yourself for what we might find. Family cases get messy. Expect him to claim the money was a gift, or a loan, or that you're senile and don't remember authorizing it. He'll fight dirty. So will I. That evening, Connor texted me. Uncle William, I've been thinking, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Can we talk? I'm worried about you. I didn't respond. 2 days later, he showed up at my door. I watched through the window as he rang the bell, waited, rang again. He looked tired, stressed. Good. I didn't answer. He left a note tucked under the doormat. Uncle William, please talk to me. This is crazy. I love you. We're family. Connor. I photographed the note for my file, then threw it away. Gary Hendricks called me on December 18th. Mr. Patterson, we need to meet. I've found some interesting developments. His office was in Mississauga, a modest building that felt more functional than impressive. Gary himself was exactly what I'd expected. Early 60s, gray crew cut, no-nonsense demeanor. He spread photographs across his desk. Your nephew has been busy. He tapped the first photo. December 9th, 2 days after you confronted him, he put a deposit on this. A Range Rover Sport, gleaming black. The window sticker visible in the photo showed a price of $98,750. He bought it. Deposit of $30,000, financing the rest through TD Auto Finance. Picked it up on December 12th. Gary pulled out more photos. Security camera footage from the dealership showing Connor signing papers, beaming at the sales manager. My stomach tightened. $30. My money. It gets better. Gary slid over another document. On December 14th, he closed on a property. Lakefront Cottage in Muskoka, near Gravenhurst. Purchase price $385,000. Down payment $55,000. I stared at the property listing. Cedar Cottage, private dock, 3 bedrooms. The kind of place Margaret and I had always dreamed of retiring to but could never quite afford. $85,000 in cash inside 2 weeks, I said, plus his monthly expenses. Where's the rest of the money? Unknown. Likely sitting in an account somewhere. Or he's being smart and parceling it out slowly. Gary pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop. Here's his paper trail. December 2nd through 6th, your accounts liquidated. December 7th, $95,000 deposited into his TD checking account. December 8th, $85,000 deposited into a new Tangerine savings account. December 9th, withdrawals begin. Car deposit, lawyer retainer for the cottage purchase, furniture deliveries. He's not even trying to hide it. Why would he? Gary leaned back. He thinks he got away with it. You're an elderly man who trusted him. Police won't pursue it. Civil courts take years. From his perspective, he won. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage, not grief. Something methodical and precise. The same feeling I got when I found a critical flaw in a bridge design. The knowledge that something needed to be corrected, and I had the tools to do it. What else do you have? Employment records. He's not working. No T4 slips. No payroll deposits. His girlfriend Melissa works at a dental office, makes about $42,000 a year. There's no legitimate source for this kind of cash. I thanked Gary and drove home. That night, I created a spreadsheet. Assets purchased with my money. Range Rover Sport, $98,750. Muskoka Cottage, $385,000. Estimated furniture and electronics, $15,000. Total deployed, approximately $115,000 of my $210,000. Remaining $95,000, location unknown. My phone rang. My daughter Allison, calling from Vancouver. Dad, Connor reached out to me. He says you've accused him of stealing and won't talk to him. What's going on? I explained everything. The timeline, the evidence, the purchases. Silence on the line. Then, oh my God, Dad, I'm so sorry. I can't believe he seemed so grateful to you. People change when money's involved. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes to make this right. After we hung up, I sat in Margaret's favorite chair by the window, looking out at the snow beginning to fall on Shepherd Avenue. Christmas lights twinkled on neighboring houses, families gathering for the holidays. Connor had stolen more than money. He'd stolen my peace, my trust, my faith that family meant something. I was going to take it all back. Rebecca called on December 20th. The forensic accountant finished her preliminary report. She's found discrepancies that the Canada Revenue Agency would find very interesting, such as Connor reported income of $31,000 last tax year, all from employment insurance. He claimed he's been unemployed since. Yet he's made cash purchases totaling over $100,000 in December alone. The CRA has a tip line for suspected tax fraud. I understood what she was suggesting. If I report him, the CRA investigates. If they find unreported income, the penalties are substantial. 20% of the unreported amount, plus interest, plus potential criminal charges for amounts over $100,000. She paused. It's completely legal to report suspected fraud. You'd be doing your civic duty. Send me the details. That evening, I filled out the CRA's online form. Lead Information Form RC 201. Taxpayer name, Connor James Patterson. Description: individual made cash purchases totaling $115,000 in December 2024, with no reported income source. Suspect unreported income or gifts. Attached Gary's photos and the timeline. I clicked Submit. Confirmation number appeared on screen. Phase 1 complete. Christmas came. Connor showed up at my door on Christmas Eve, gifts in hand. I watched through the peephole as he rang the bell 3 times, then left the packages on the porch. After he drove away in his Range Rover, I brought them inside. Expensive bottle of scotch. New cashmere scarf, card that read, "To Uncle William, I miss you. Can we please talk? Love always, Connor." I put the gifts in the basement, unopened. My daughter flew in from Vancouver with my grandchildren. We had Christmas dinner together, just the 4 of us. 7-year-old Emma asked, "Where's Cousin Connor? He always comes for Christmas." "He's busy this year, sweetheart." On Boxing Day, Rebecca emailed me. The private investigator found something else. Connor's girlfriend, Melissa, recently upgraded her engagement ring, $8,500 at a Burke's jeweler in Yorkdale. Paid cash, more of my money. Funding their life together. I spent New Year's Eve alone reviewing my case files. Every document organized chronologically, every photo labeled, every transaction traced. 42 years of engineering had made me methodical. This was just another project. The specifications, complete financial collapse for Connor. The timeline, as long as it takes. The budget, whatever remained of my savings. January brought the cold. Toronto temperatures dropped to -20, the kind of cold that made your lungs ache. Gary called on January 9th. The CRA has opened an investigation into Connor Patterson, file number assigned. They'll send him a letter requesting documentation within 30 days. How do you know that? I have contacts. Gary's voice held grim satisfaction. They move slowly, but when they move, they're thorough. He'll need to explain where $115,000 came from. Employment insurance doesn't cover it. No inheritance, no legitimate gifts. He's got no good answer. Rebecca filed the civil lawsuit on January 15th. Statement of claim, Connor James Patterson, defendant. William Arthur Patterson, plaintiff. Amount claimed, $210,000 plus interest, legal fees, and punitive damages. Cause of action, breach of fiduciary duty, conversion, unjust enrichment. The process server found Connor at the Muskoka Cottage on January 18th. Gary had surveillance photos. Connor opening the door in expensive loungewear, face going pale as he read the lawsuit papers. Melissa visible behind him, asking what was wrong. My phone rang that night. Connor screaming, "You sued me? Your own nephew? Over money you gave me for helping you with your accounts?" I'd been waiting for this lie. Stayed calm. "I never gave you anything except a place to live, rent-free." "You're lying! You told me that money was for me, for taking care of you after your surgery. This is elder abuse, Uncle William. You're confused." I'm not confused, Connor. I'm very clear. See you in court. You'll regret this. His voice turned ugly. I'll tell everyone you're senile. I'll get a doctor to testify. You'll look like a vindictive old man who doesn't remember his own generosity. I hung up. He tried calling back 6 times. I blocked his number. The CRA letter arrived at Connor's address on January 22nd. Gary obtained a photo of it. Request for documentation. Prove source of funds for purchases made December 2024. Provide bank statements. Explain discrepancy between reported income and spending patterns. Response required within 21 days. February came. Still no response from Connor's lawyer to the lawsuit. Rebecca filed a motion for default judgment. Then on February 8th, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Mr. Patterson, this is James McIntyre. I'm representing your nephew Connor in the civil matter and the CRA inquiry. Professional voice. Expensive lawyer. My client maintains that the money in question was a gift given in recognition of his caretaking services. He's prepared to provide an affidavit to that effect. Your client is lying. Sir, I understand emotions run high in family disputes, but we need to discuss settlement. Litigation is expensive and uncertain. My client is willing to negotiate. Tell your client to return every penny he stole, plus interest, and I'll consider dropping the suit. That's not realistic. The money has been spent on legitimate purchases. Then we'll see what the court says. Silence. Then, Mr. Patterson, you should know the CRA investigation is causing my client significant stress. If you were to withdraw your complaint, I reported suspected tax fraud. Whether the CRA investigates is their decision, not mine. You're trying to destroy a young man's life over a misunderstanding. Your client destroyed his own life when he stole from me. We're done talking. I hung up. Rebecca called 30 minutes later. McIntyre reached out to me too. He's scared. The CRA is demanding documentation Connor can't provide, and our lawsuit is solid. He's trying to negotiate because he knows he'll lose. What's our next move? We wait. Let the pressure build. The CRA moves slowly, but they're relentless. He'll have to either explain the money, which incriminates him in our civil case, or refuse to cooperate, which triggers penalties and potential criminal charges. Connor was trapped. Every path led to consequences. March arrived with freezing rain, the kind of weather that made Toronto gray and miserable. Gary called with news. Connor's trying to sell the Range Rover, listed it privately for $85,000. Problem is, he still owes $72,000 on the financing. At best, he nets $13,000. Why would he sell? Cash flow problems. The CRA probably froze his accounts pending the investigation. He can't access the money he stole without proving it's legitimate. He's stuck. 2 days later, Gary had more. The cottage is listed for sale, asking $420,000. He's owned it for 3 months. Connor was liquidating. The pressure was working. Rebecca filed for an injunction. Emergency motion to prevent Connor from dissipating assets pending resolution of the lawsuit. The court granted it on March 18th. Order restraining Connor James Patterson from selling, transferring, or encumbering the property at 247 Lakeshore Drive, Gravenhurst, without court approval. Gary sent me the photo of the deputy serving the order. Connor standing in his doorway, reading the papers, face ashen. Melissa behind him, crying. My phone rang at 2 a.m. on March 23rd. Connor drunk. What have you done to me? You've destroyed everything. I was silent. Let him talk. The CRA wants $35,000 in taxes and penalties. My lawyer wants another $8,000. I can't sell anything because of your injunction. Melissa left me. She said I'm a liar and a thief. He was sobbing now. I'm going to lose the cottage, lose the car. I'll have nothing. You took everything from me first. It was just money. You're rich. You didn't need it. I worked 42 years for that money, Connor. Every dollar. While you sat on your couch playing video games and plotting how to steal from the man who gave you a home. I hate you. I hope you die alone, you miserable old bastard. He hung up. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Sat in the dark, thinking about Margaret. What she would say about all this. Whether I'd gone too far. Whether revenge was worth it. Then I remembered coming home to find my accounts emptied. Remembered Connor's performance, his fake shock, his willingness to let me believe I'd been hacked, rather than admit what he'd done. No, I hadn't gone too far. I'd gone exactly far enough. April brought warmer weather. The snow melted. Toronto came back to life. The CRA assessment arrived on April 2nd. Gary obtained a copy. Total owed $41,750. Unreported income of $115,000. Tax owing $26,450. Penalties $23,090. Interest $1,210. Payment due within 90 days or wage garnishment and asset seizure would begin. Connor had no wages to garnish, and his assets were frozen by my injunction. Rebecca called. His lawyer wants to settle. They're offering $85,000, the proceeds from selling the Range Rover plus liquidating some other assets. I want $210,000 plus interest, plus my legal fees. He doesn't have it. Then he can sell the cottage. The injunction prevents that without court approval. I know. That's the point. May brought the civil trial. Ontario Superior Court. Justice Margaret Chen presiding. Connor arrived with James McIntyre, looking haggard. He'd lost weight. His expensive clothes hung loose. I sat with Rebecca at the plaintiff's table, calm, prepared. The trial lasted 3 days. Rebecca presented our case methodically. Timeline, bank records, Connor's purchases, expert testimony from the forensic accountant, Gary's surveillance photos. McIntyre tried to argue gift, claimed Connor had provided caretaking services worth $210,000, couldn't provide any documentation, no written agreement, no employment records, no T4 slips. The judge wasn't buying it. I could see it in her expression as she reviewed the exhibits. On the third day, Connor took the stand. McIntyre walked him through his version, that I'd promised him the money for taking care of me after surgery, that I'd given him the passwords and told him to help himself, that I was confused now, didn't remember. Rebecca cross-examined, methodical and devastating. Mr. Patterson, if your uncle gave you this money as a gift in December, why didn't you report it to the CRA as a gift? I didn't know I had to. You're 28 years old with a business degree. You didn't know gifts over $10,000 must be reported? I forgot. You forgot. And when did you start providing these alleged caretaking services? After his surgery, in May 2024. So, 7 months of part-time care is worth $210,000? That's $30,000 per month, more than most full-time nurses earn. Connor stammered. He was grateful. He wanted to reward me. By giving you his entire retirement savings? Mr. Patterson, did you take a single day off work to care for your uncle? I was unemployed. I was available whenever he needed me. Available. Did you cook for him? Sometimes. How many times? I don't remember exactly. More than 10? Maybe. Did you drive him to medical appointments? Once or twice. Did you help him with household chores? When he asked, Rebecca pulled out photos. Connor's basement apartment before and after the theft. These are photos of your living space. Before December, you had modest furnishings. After December, new gaming equipment, new furniture, new television. All purchased with your uncle's money, while claiming it was payment for services. Can you explain how playing video games in his basement constitutes caretaking? Connor had no answer. The judge delivered her ruling on May 15th. I find the defendant's testimony not credible. The evidence clearly demonstrates a breach of fiduciary duty and conversion of funds without authorization. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $210,000 plus pre-judgment interest at 3% from December 6th, 2024, totaling $213,680, plus legal costs of $47,500. Total judgment, $261,180. Connor sat frozen as the judge read the decision. Melissa wasn't there. She'd left him in March, moved back in with her parents. Rebecca leaned over. We can now enforce this judgment, seize his assets, garnish any income, Forced sale of the cottage. Do it. The cottage went up for auction on June 10th. Court-ordered sale. The bids started at $250,000, well below market value. I sat in the courtroom gallery, watching. Bidding climbed. $280,000, $310,000, $340,000. At $360,000, I raised my paddle. Connor, sitting with his lawyer, turned and saw me. His face went white. The auctioneer called for further bids. Silence. Sold to bidder 73 for $360,000. I'd bought the cottage, the place Connor purchased with my stolen money, at a $25,000 discount. After court fees and the outstanding mortgage Connor had taken, the net proceeds were $187,000, applied to the judgment. He still owed me 74 et 180. The Range Rover went next, seized and sold at auction for $79,000. After paying off Connor's loan, the net was $7,000. Judgment balance, $67,180. Rebecca filed for wage garnishment, but Connor had no wages, no job. Living with his mother in Scarborough, my sister refusing to take my calls. On June 30th, Connor filed for bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy, trustee assigned, all assets liquidated, debts discharged, except judgments for fraud aren't dischargeable in bankruptcy. Rebecca explained this to me. The fraud finding means he'll owe you this money for the rest of his life. Every job he gets, we can garnish wages. Every asset he acquires, we can seize. He'll never be free of it. I sat in the Muskoka cottage in July. My cottage now, the place Margaret and I had dreamed of. The dock stretched out into the lake, water lapping gently. Sunset painted the sky orange and pink. I'd recovered $194,000 of my $210,000. Lost $16,000 to the process, plus the legal fees. But I had the cottage, worth more than what I'd lost. More importantly, Connor had nothing. Bankrupt at 28, credit destroyed, relationship destroyed, living in his mother's basement again, working part-time at a warehouse for minimum wage, which we garnished 25% of. My sister called once, in August, screaming at me, "You destroyed my son's life over money. You're his uncle. Family is supposed to forgive. Tell your son that stealing has consequences. He made a mistake. He's young. He's 28, not 18. And it wasn't a mistake. It was calculated theft. You're a monster." I hung up, blocked her number. Allison visited in September with my grandchildren. We spent a week at the cottage, swimming, fishing, building campfires. Emma asked about Connor once. "Is he still in trouble?" "Yes, sweetheart. He made some very bad choices." "Will he say sorry?" "I don't know. He never did. No apology, no acknowledgement, just silence." I sold my North York house in October, moved to the cottage full-time. The Muskoka community welcomed me. Neighbors who didn't know the story just knew I was William, the retired engineer who liked morning walks and afternoon fishing. On Christmas Eve, I stood on the dock watching snow fall onto the frozen lake. 1 year since Connor had stolen everything. 1 year since this all began. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Uncle William, it's Connor. I know you blocked me. I just want to say I'm sorry. I was selfish and stupid. I destroyed our relationship for money. I think about it every day. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know, I'm sorry. Merry Christmas." I read it twice. Stood in the falling snow, breath visible in the December air. Then I deleted it. Didn't respond. Sorry wasn't enough. Sorry didn't give back the year of stress, the betrayal, the shattered trust. Sorry was just a word. I went inside, lit a fire, poured a glass of the scotch Allison had given me, sat in the chair facing the lake, watching the flames. Justice hadn't brought joy, just closure, just the cold satisfaction of knowing that actions have consequences, that theft doesn't pay, that even family isn't immune to accountability. Margaret's photo sat on the mantel, Smiling, forever 58, I raised my glass to her. We got our cottage, love. Not the way we planned, but we got it. The fire crackled. Outside, the snow fell heavier, blanketing the dock in white. It was finished. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Shattered Vengeance, and share your thoughts in the comments below. To listen to the next story, click on the video on the left. Thank you for watching.